Hello everyone, welcome back to the Zekko Football channel. Manchester United have beaten Liverpool by 4-3 after extra time in one of the greatest FA Cup ties that we've seen in quite some time. And today we're going to be diving into how they did it and the main key reason and difference between the two clubs. If you are new to the channel, please make sure that you subscribe, you like the video, and you turn on those notifications so you don't miss what's coming up. But now, let's get into it. This was a cracker. What a game. This is why we watch football. For these kind of matches, this is one of the best games I think we've seen in quite some time. Forget FA Cup, forget Premier League. This was just a spectacle. And with the narrative, with the rivalry, the animosity between Man United and Liverpool, the storylines behind both clubs, what's going to happen with Ten Hag? Can Man United bounce back? Can they save their season? And Liverpool, can they do the quadruple? They've already got 1 out of the 4 trophies that they're currently competing in. Can they make it all 4? This game had everything. It had a bit of needle, it had a bit of spark to it. I just thought it was brilliant. We're going to start with the attacking momentum bar because I was really impressed with the way that Man United came out. They started to dominate the game. They had a bit of possession. They clearly created some attacking momentum and they actually made it count. They got a goal, and I think for this game to have really burst into life, I think it needed a goal from Manchester United. I think Liverpool needed to have some danger in them. I think they needed to understand that this was going to be a cup tie, a serious game that they need to take properly. And Manchester United really did play their part in that. Now, I think they put so much into it, they started to fade in around about the 35th minute, and Liverpool actually ended up scoring in around about the 39th. And then, typically, with a Manchester United performance, you saw their heads drop. They just fell. And as you can see, 44th and essentially the 47th minute is when Liverpool scored. They capitalised on Man United's dropped heads. They capitalised on the almost mental weakness and fragility that they have throughout the team. They go into the second half and Liverpool dominate. They create chances, they create opportunities, but they can't really finish anything. A couple of good saves from Andre Onana, a couple of missed chances from Liverpool, and that really does become a theme later on. One of the major differences between the two clubs are the decision making and the ability for both sides to do the basics properly. I felt like Liverpool faded towards the end of the second half. Obviously, Manchester United started to grow in confidence. They had players coming off. The manager made some very strange substitutions, which we will talk about a little bit later. But one of the main things I found with Manchester United going later into the game and then into extra time was they started to do the basics a little bit better. They took their time. They had a little bit of patience. And it's all about making sure that you can gain momentum in your own side. Too many times we saw Manchester United kick the ball long and almost forcing them to go into a 50-50 battle when they didn't need to. They have the capable players of holding the ball and creating decent possession-based football. And that's where it leads us into the lineups. Because again, like I said, for about 35 minutes, I was extremely impressed with Manchester United. We'll get onto Liverpool in a second, but I was really impressed with them. Kobe Mainoo is an absolute talent. He's a gem, and I cannot believe that he hasn't been ultimately considered for the England side. I know I didn't have him in mind, but I thought he would have at least been given a run out. He's a sensation. Scott McTominay was my player of the match, I think. It was a mixture between a number of players, but the way he was managing to win his duels, the energy that he committed to the entirety of the match, I was really impressed with. Same with a lot of the players. Garnacho, I thought, did really well. Diallo did really well. I mean, Diallo has been a constant performer for Manchester United for quite some time now. 3 out of his 7 ground duels. But he was always there. He moved into midfield occasionally, and he was just really, really impressive. I thought Bruno Fernandes did a good job even when he dropped back down into centre-half. Marcus Rashford obviously got his opportunity after missing a couple, and slowly but surely you started to see the Manchester United side tick. I thought Onana was very good as well, making a number of saves. He made 8 saves during that game, and really kept Manchester United in it when he needed to. Overall, this United side did grow with confidence later on, and it was down to essentially doing the basics properly and being able to win those duels. And that moves us on into Liverpool, because while I thought they were very, very good, especially in the second half, I thought they could have really capitalised on the momentum that they had gained from scoring those 2 goals before half-time. There was something a little bit off about them, and I can't understand whether it's down to the amount of game time they've had to play. Perhaps later on they started to fade because of the amount of minutes and the amount of matches that they've played. I thought Darwin Núñez was a threat, albeit they didn't really do too much later down the line. I thought Cody Gakpo didn't offer up anywhere near enough, not the same as Darwin Núñez. And it was, again, decision making. There was a moment when Cody Gakpo could have played in a number of players. I believe it was a 5-on-2 later on, and he just fails to play the pass. It just fizzles out, and it's the decision-making that I thought Manchester United did better than Liverpool later down the line. I thought Luis Diaz was okay, but didn't really offer all too much. And again, it was a game of half chances for Liverpool. Two of their 3 goals were actually deflections, and the second goal, which was scored by Mohamed Salah, was actually a rebound from a keeper save. So they created a number of chances, and yes, they of course could have scored, but I didn't think it was the dominating Liverpool performance that we've seen from them for so many times. Jaro Kwanzaa, I thought, did a very good job, but Joe Gomez looked a little bit out of place at right back, with playing and going round against the likes of Marcus Rashford. I thought he struggled a little bit. And then you've got Robertson out on this Liverpool left-hand side, the Manchester United right-hand side, and I thought the battle between him and Garnacho was really, really good. Another thing I'll mention is that Mo Salah was kept quite quiet, and that was down to the tactical tweak that Erik ten Hag made around Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I thought he did a very good job of making sure that he wasn't allowed too many opportunities. And if we have a look at his duels, Wan-Bissaka won 3 out of his 5 grand duels, but only limited Mo Salah to 3 shots. And of course, one of them was a goal. Of course, Mo Salah is always going to get himself into goal-scoring opportunities. But I thought he did a really good job, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, of making sure that Salah didn't have too many opportunities. Only 2 shots on target, 1 off target. I thought he did a really, really good job of limiting him. Now, of course, Salah is coming back from injury, so perhaps he's not himself. But that was kind of the tale for this entire Liverpool side. They just didn't look themselves, especially later on down the line. And when Manchester United started to grow in confidence, I felt like Liverpool started to fade. And that's, again, down to one of the issues that I will mention now. I understand it's a real boo-hoo thing to do, to mention something I think that Jurgen Klopp didn't do correctly, but I've got to say that I didn't. I thought it was a telltale sign to remove Mo Salah. It's the 77th minute, and while you might have decided that Mo Salah was going to go off after 80, I just didn't think that that was the correct move at the time. I thought it swung the momentum and the impotence into Manchester United's favour. I thought it gave them a little bit more drive, a little bit more opportunity. And then you see Erik ten Hag almost see that substitution. I'm sure he was thinking about it again, or just to make it afterwards. But immediately, you have Eriksen coming on, a more attacking substitution. Mainoo looks shattered. You have Diallo coming on for Rafa Varane. Now, of course, this is Manchester United going for it with 5 minutes left. But again, I feel like they were almost encouraged by the fact that Cody Gakpo comes on for Mo Salah. Again, not really showing too much. Gakpo struggling to really get into the game. He slows the play down a little bit too much, I think, especially when Liverpool are trying to be dynamic. Harvey Elliott, I thought, did okay, but Szoboszlai still looked a little bit off the pace. And overall, it was a fantastic affair. Liverpool were a bit below their best, but I think that's what contributed to such a good game. And Manchester United managed to make the decisions that they needed to, or the correct decisions, to be able to push them forwards. And their dynamism and intensity in the match is something that cannot be understated. I thought that Liverpool actually were outfought on a number of duels, and that is highlighted in the game. Now, you don't see it here, but I've just got another screen for you to see. This actually lines up the statistics for Manchester United and Liverpool from a different place. And I just wanted to showcase the XG here, because it didn't show it on the previous set of stats. Liverpool have an XG of 1.87 during the match. Manchester United an XG of 3.19. Now, if you are going into this game and thinking that Manchester United did not deserve to go through, they created so many more high-quality opportunities than Liverpool did. And now I think that highlights the level of progress that Manchester United managed to make in this game. I was extremely impressed with them. But if we go back and just have a look at this, we can see that Man United won their duels. And I think that's a telltale thing. You can't afford to be carried during a match. You have to win your duels. You have to earn the right to play, especially when playing against this Liverpool side. The intensity, you have to match their intensity if you're going to be able to do anything. And that's exactly what Man United did. 63 duels won to 56, 17 aerials to 15. They outmatched Liverpool in their duels. They outfought them almost. 21 tackles to 19, 19 interceptions to 10. They managed to really match that, and it was incredibly impressive to see, especially from a side that's been so poor for so long. But as I said, the decision making was the main difference. That's the reason that changed. You had the Cody Gakpo chance where he could have lined up Darwin Núñez or lined up a number of other players. When he releases the ball as a key moment, we'll have a look at that a little bit later. But I thought that Manchester United did a great job. Again, the intensity like we're talking about just before we end is Scott McTominay won the ball, but so did Amad Diallo for the second goal. 2 of Manchester United's 4 goals were actually due to transition, due to turnover. And when we see the players, there's a real tactical tweak that happens from Erik ten Hag through the match stats. You can see him gravitating towards this right-hand side. If we just go back there now, we can see that the play is almost gravitating towards the right-hand side, or the Man United's left-hand side, Liverpool's right-hand side of the pitch. But also, when we put the substitutes on the pitch, I think it's really interesting to see that he prioritises the middle of the pitch. Anthony comes on the right-hand side for Rafa Varane, but Amad Diallo actually managed to play as a central attacking midfielder, almost a Kobbie Mainoo role, but just pushing it a little bit further forwards because Eriksen's come on. Bruno drops a little bit deeper to give Amad that bit of time and space, and it was through that and through that positioning that Manchester United managed to get that goal. Again, I thought Liverpool were okay. Their spacing is very good, but they just lacked that final killer pass, that final moment. And it was the decision-making along with the intensity that Manchester United brought that I thought took them over the line. A fantastic performance that the entire team and Erik ten Hag should be extremely proud of. They were fantastic. Before we end, let's take a look at a couple of in-game moments that I think really defined this fixture, and it was really the make and break and the reason behind the result, the reason behind Manchester United coming out on top, and the reason why Liverpool failed to really convert a lot of their chances. It was the decision-making that was the difference between the two sides. So here's an example. Liverpool are on the break. Luis Diaz has just passed the ball to Cody Gakpo, who was about to roam forwards and try to make the most of this counter. It really quickly turns and develops into essentially a 5v2. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 against only 2 Manchester United defenders. Now, in this situation, what you want to be doing is driving forwards with the ball of your Gakpo. You want to be spreading the Manchester United defenders as much as possible. Pace is key, but also releasing the ball at the correct time is arguably the most pivotal thing here. If we follow it on, we can see that Cody Gakpo has mountains and acres of space. He has 3 players on his right and he has 1 on his left. Currently, the Manchester United players are doing quite well because they're staying together, but at the same time, they're also half covering both sides. It's still an incredibly favourable situation for Liverpool, and there are a number of ways you can go about it. You could attempt the really dangerous through ball pass to Luis Diaz, who will probably get the victory onto Lindelof. You could attempt to really pass it through here down the wide areas. I think that's the safest pass, and then you could try the reverse pass through into Darwin Núñez. He has the pace more than likely to beat Dalot, and you're then looking at a cutback through across the box. But instead, what happens, instead of delaying or going a little bit further forwards to be able to spread the 2 Manchester United defenders, Cody Gakpo decides to take the opportunity to pass earlier, and I really do think it is the wrong move here. In progressing the play so fast, it leaves Elliott in a really difficult position. Yes, he could square it, but then where does the ball go from there? You're asking for a pot shot from outside the box. Can he get it over to Núñez, or is it going to get intercepted? That's another difficult pass. And then you've got Luis Diaz, who was released a little bit too late and means he's going to be offside. Look at Lindelof and what he's doing here. This is a really clever piece of play. Dalot stepping up a little bit, Lindelof pushing him over. I think it's a really smart piece of defensive play from Manchester United, who are desperately trying to handle the situation. But in the end, it goes over to Elliott. I don't think the right moment, and I think Gakpo could have really done a lot more with it. Instead, Elliott tries to find Núñez out at that far post, but the moment is gone, and Dalot managed to read it very, very well. He's attempting to play that pass through into there. It takes a little bit more time as well, more time for Manchester United players to get back, and then just as you see here, you have 1, 2, 3 Manchester United players converging on Harvey Elliott, which just makes that angle that little bit more difficult. They've closed off this angle here, and it just means when he actually plays that pass, it gets intercepted right here. It's just not good enough, and it's that kind of decision making that could have really stopped the game. It could have stopped the game for Manchester United, and I think that's pivotal. Now let's have a look and move on and take a look at the way Manchester United managed to come back into the game. This is currently at 3-2. Liverpool are winning this match in extra time, and remember what I talked about with the transitions and the turnovers. The transitional play from Manchester United is really good here. Now, I'm not talking about counter-attacking opportunities. I'm talking about the ability to press up high and hold the ball to be able to transition in your opponent's half. This is something that Erik ten Hag wants to base his style of football around, and he believes it's something that Manchester United are very good at. Believe it or not, earlier on in the season, Manchester United were actually the best transitional side in the Premier League, but they were the worst transitional side in terms of converting the chances and the turnovers that they created. In this particular instance, they make their moment count. So Darwin Núñez has the ball here. He's going to try and play a risky pass into the central midfield to Endo right here. Now, I think it's risky because of the convergence of Man United players once more. Like I said earlier, they packed the midfield in the extra time, and it just meant that it was a little bit more difficult for Liverpool to play through the lines. The space was in the wide areas, but instead of going out wide, they decided to try and play through the middle occasionally. I think this is down to a number of reasons, Liverpool being a bit tired, and the personnel that are available, and a couple of other reasons, but it ends up getting intercepted by Amad right here, and this is where the attack breaks down for Liverpool, or the building breaks down for Liverpool, and it means that Manchester United are then able to launch their own almost mini counter-attack, really benefiting from the transition. If we forward here again, we can see that Darwin Núñez is about to play that ball, and once he does, Amad intercepts. Once Amad intercepts, it's now down to whether Scott McTominay or a Liverpool player is able to get to the ball quick enough. Now, due to the large spacing between the Liverpool midfield, we normally talk about this from Manchester United, but the space in between the Liverpool midfield is massive, and it just means that a Manchester United player is more than likely going to get there first. Scott McTominay ends up being the player that ends up getting the ball, and he's able to then transition forwards. It then becomes a really promising attack for Manchester United, and then it's the question of decision making again. We mentioned Cody Gakpo a little bit earlier, but now the question is, can Scott McTominay wait the pass properly, and can he pick the correct option? The answer is yes, he can. He finds Marcus Rashford, who, with the perfect weight of pass from McTominay, is able to hit it first time and slot the ball home. It's really impressively done, really impressively executed. Marcus Rashford does not have to break stride. He does not have to change his tempo. He's able to slot it home, and it continues. And then we look at the final goal. This is in the 120th minute. Now, there are a couple of things that I think really do need mentioning here. The first thing being Liverpool and their commitment to attempting to get that final goal. Now, if you're Liverpool and you've been almost lackluster in the second period of extra time, and essentially in the entire period of extra time, the decision to only play one defensive-minded player out on the halfway line or just outside the box to really contend with the counter-attack is something that I think is a little bit naive. Yes, you've got Harvey Elliott on the outside of the box. Yes, you've got Endo here on the outside of the box. But I just thought that really going for that just didn't make too much sense. If you're not going to win the game, or if you don't necessarily have a major chance of winning the game, of course, it's a corner situation on the last minute, there's always an opportunity. I just think that you need to make sure that you don't lose it. And in this particular scenario, Liverpool end up losing it. So the ball gets headed out by McTominay, who again, like I said, played a fantastic part in this game. And this is another big key instance, lack of communication, lack of moments. You see Endo and Harvey Elliott almost running into each other at this point. Both of them really eager to get to the ball. Of course, the eagerness is good, but the lack of communication really means that there's a breakdown here, and it allows Amad to get a little bit more time to be able to come and dominate that situation. Elliott ends up picking up the ball, Endo relinquishes it, and at that point, Amad is able to spring. And it's this particular moment that I think is really important. It's this level of intensity, this level of determination, and the ability to really start being combative in the 120th minute. I think that's really key and crucial. The 120th minute, it's really important that the energy stayed high, that the intensity stayed high, and it's in this particular scenario that Liverpool are essentially undone by the same thing that they do to a number of other teams. The ball falls to Garnacho in the 120th minute. Remember, he's played 120 minutes at this point. You're asking, can he run? Can he beat his man? Can he maintain the counter-attack? And all of a sudden, as you can see, Manchester United have a 2v1 situation against Conor Bradley. And then it's a moment that, obviously, Liverpool need to start thinking about. But the question is, about Alejandro Garnacho in this particular situation. Can he make the right pass? Can he pick the correct decision? We think back to Cody Gakpo. He was not able to make that choice. Amad gives him a good option. Does he take it, or does he go wide? Does he go through? Does he attempt to play it? Instead, he makes the correct decision and plays it through. But what's even more intricate in this is the fact that the ball that he plays is actually behind Amad. It's not correct. It's not in the flow. Amad needed to change his stride. He needed to change his tempo and his pace. And it meant that it almost gave Conor Bradley a little bit of an in. But because Garnacho made the correct decision. It's all about making the correct decision. If you don't execute it as well, that's okay. Make the correct decision first. And that's something that I didn't see from Liverpool when they were trying to finish the game off against Manchester United. It goes through to Amad, who was able to have his 1v1 against Conor Bradley, and in the end finish into the bottom right-hand corner, hitting the post and then bouncing in. I think the key to this game was decision making, making sure that they're able to really utilize different moments of both possession but also when out of possession. The moments and decisions that they take dictate how the game is going to unfold, and in this particular instance I think Manchester United were better. But let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. Are you a Liverpool fan? Let me know your thoughts. How did you see the game play out? Let me know how you saw the game. I would love to hear from you. Thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learnt something new, and I hope to see you in the next one. But until then, my friends, take care.